Welcome to Fear Coded, a podcast where we talk about media from the horror genre and take a queer reading of a single book, video game, film, podcast, or TV show to explore just how queer horror can be. At least that's what we usually do, but in this minisode, we're talking about 3 different short works by the legendary Edgar Allan Poe, where all 3 of us have brought one to share. I'm David.
I'm Marilee.
And I'm Tyler.
And while the mortar is setting, I want to check in and say hello with my co-hosts on how things are going for them in a landscape of horrors that our real world has to offer. What's making you all scared, or what is making you feel prepared?
I have a preparation.
Like preparation
Ooh.
H, or like whatever?
No. It's
Okay.
more like preparation A, kinda. It's the humble avocado.
The
Now we've just made a preparation H joke, so I'm going to veer away from that, and I'm instead going to talk about the wonders of the avocado. So I have been watching a lot of cooking videos with my partner Marshall, and there's just so many uses for an avocado, and like avocado spread, guacamole, all of this really good stuff. I've been putting an avocado spread on my turkey sandwiches that I make for lunch,
Delightful.
and it just kicks it up so many notches. And I'm like, now I'm kind of craving like some avocado toast with like some feta and like some tomato slices on it, like a little bit of lemon juice and olive oil. Oh God, so good. Yeah, that's really my big thing. I've just been thinking about avocados a lot recently.
Wow. I have trouble with an avocado because I feel like an avocado is a really elusive thing to get right at the grocery store. And
So true.
As the primary shopper, I just get like 3 of them, and I hope that one that makes it back is the right avocado.
There is like the chosen avocado. Whenever you get avocados, there's always one of the bunch that's just like, I am the one.
Yeah.
I'm the one that keeps you eating avocados.
And Tyler and Marilee, here's the deal. When I get an avocado, I'm going at that thing like Mrs. Bates. I'm throwing a knife into the pit, right? Like this. I'm making a cleaving motion. And then I hope to lodge the knife in the pit, and then I rotate the knife to then dislodge the pit. That is how I was taught to do it. Every time I'm scared of the very notion of doing this, because I am swinging a butcher's knife, essentially.
That's really dangerous, actually. Did you know, like, avocado hand is a legit injury that people see in the ER all the time because people have sliced their hand open while cutting an avocado?
Okay, I'm not holding the avocado. Let's be really clear, because that felt like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
It is. Literally. Correct.
That's terrible. Avocado toast, Tyler. It's the reason we can't buy homes. So are you sure you want to say that this is making you feel prepared?
Yeah,
Well,
on the record.
Here's the thing. I love an avocado toast, but I think the reason I don't have a home is because I'm buying like 50,000 avocados every weekend.
Wow, we're really trying to get the golden avocado here. You were like, I'm going to find the right one. I would like a pallet, please. A pallet of avocados.
Well, I'm having budget issues because Marshall and I are malnourished except when it comes to any nutrient from an avocado. So if anyone has any nutritional budgetary help, please let me know. We're dying.
Yeah, so like your budget lines, you got your rent and your electricity and utilities, and then you have a $50,000 avocado budget. And you're saying you want somebody to help you.
Yeah, someone
Yes.
who knows what they're doing. Help me out
Yes.
here.
Because your family's dying.
Because my family is dying. Much like that drill tweet. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, my family is dying.
Wow.
From deliciousness.
Stop. Stop. Also, guacamole. You listed guacamole in the many things that avocado could become. I think it's my least favorite thing that an avocado becomes.
Really?
Yeah, too much unknown. Guacamole. Sometimes there's a hidden onion in there. I don't care for that.
Oh, I love a hidden onion.
Yeah,
Onions
shouldn't be
great.
hidden.
I have a problem. I don't really like the taste or texture of raw tomato.
Yeah,
So
that's in there. That's in there.
Like if it's
I have something. I have something scary to tell you, then, Marilee.
okay.
His avocado is actually just a tomato.
Oh,
I've
no.
gotten them completely confused. I have color blindness, except it's for food. No, so I went to the furry con I went to Megaplex. Shout out to Megaplex. Great furry con. If you're a furry, you should go. I'm going down the elevator on the first day, and it's really crowded. And I turn around and I look at this guy, and I kind of thought out of the corner of my eye, like, oh, he's eating an apple. That's a pretty good, thing to eat. Start the day. And then I realized he's just raw dog and a fucking tomato.
Listen.
No.
People do it.
No.
Yeah.
People do it, Marilee. It's not for you.
No, absolutely. No, so do you guys watch the Great British Baking Show at all?
Of course.
Yeah, it's the greatest. In one of the later seasons, I think it was like 2 or 3 seasons ago from the current time now, but I simply couldn't.
They all blur together.
Bet money on it.
Yeah.
In one of the episodes during a one of the middle challenges, the technical bake, one of the contestants drinks raw egg whites. And every time I watch this, I nearly gag, and I simply cannot handle it. And I forget that it's coming until it happens, and I'm like, oh no, it's time. It's egg white time.
Yeah. And
I simply can't look at it. So raw tomato, just eating it like an apple, horrible. At least it's not he's drinking raw egg whites.
Yeah,
so
or
real.
My version of this from early, my grandfather used to eat onions like apples.
Ugh.
See, that's too far. So you like a hidden onion, but the idea of just crunching into one doesn't work for you.
Because the hidden onion, first of all, if it's in guacamole, it should be a red onion that's been finely chopped up, and there's little bits of it in there. Okay. If you even wanted to make it a little special and bring out some of the flavors, you could have sauteed the onion and then chopped it up, thrown it in there.
A lot of work.
All of those things, or maybe chopped and then sauteed, but whatever. But if you're just eating a fucking white onion, just straight up, again, raw dog in that thing, I think I don't want to get too close to you when I speak to you.
Yeah, we were farmers too, so it was right out of the ground too. You just wipe it on his pants and then chomp.
Listen, that's not great. It's on the scale of things that you eat raw. I feel like a raw onion is it's basically fine. It's way better than those other things we've talked about so far.
You can eat a raw onion, but I don't think you can eat a raw potato.
You can eat a raw potato.
It'd be bad for you.
Not good for you. You can do it. You can put it in your body. I've put it in my
David,
body.
You can jump off a bridge. You can swim with sharks. Doesn't mean that you should do these things.
All right, let me rephrase. I have taken a bite out of a raw potato and felt it there like a giant hunk of gum I had swallowed for like 3 days.
Well, listen, actions have consequences.
Actions have consequences, fairly. And that one, I felt it. I've never done it since. And in fact, now when making potatoes, I am more cautious than I ever have been. There you go. Thank you, Tyler, for bringing us the avocado. That was such a delight.
I appreciate that.
This is why I'm prepared. Now tell me all why you're prepared or scared.
I'm prepared because, my sister got COVID recently. Like she and her fiance. I have 2 sisters, so this is the other one than the one I talk about a lot with her kid. So she was sick for like a month basically, and it was a real bummer. But she's finally feeling better, and so we went to the movies last night, and it was just really nice to spend time with them. I hadn't seen them for a while, and like I have a lot of sleep issues, so I've been having like a real grind because I'm not getting the rest that I need, and it was just really refreshing to spend this time with my sister, and really rejuvenating.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Some good family time is so good and important. Fills that social meter up. Makes that connection a little bit deeper. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that I have unrealistic expectations. Like I know that I'm so lucky with my siblings because a lot of people don't have this, and I really treasure the opportunities that I get to have with my incredible siblings.
Were you hellions as children? I have this theory that siblings bond through collective destructionism.
Well, we had a rough childhood, but it wasn't necessarily that we were the problems.
Okay.
I mean, my younger sister and I had a lot of problems when we were growing up, but it was more because we had to share the same room and we never had any space from one another.
That's hard.
Yeah, it was really hard, especially we're very different people. Having a room where you could go and close the door and get a break from another person does wonders for your relationship with them.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I've always heard.
Yeah. So we're best friends now. Not always true, but
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to bring us down. But
no, come on, David.
Sorry.
No, bring us down. Bring us down.
Can't be a trifecta day. I'm scared. And I brought a prop today because what I'm scared of, I'm wearing on my body.
This pink shirt that I really like, actually.
This pink shirt, thank you. I liked it too. So we were in Italy, and we had gotten down to Sicily, and I was like, let's go shopping because, just something to do while you're in a different place. We went into the store and got a couple of plain shirts. I love a plain shirt. It's one of my favorite things in the world. Just absolutely love it. Go to purchase things. My Italian is very poor, in that I can say thank you and I can hold up a credit card. That was all I was prepared to do for this interaction. But I was successful. I did make the purchase. But then when we got back from our day of shopping and outing, I realized that the anti-theft tag was still on this shirt.
No.
It was. It did not make any noise. It did not do anything. So I'm wearing, even though I paid for it, it feels stolen. So I'm in fear that Sicilians are going to break into my room at any point in time and arrest me.
Well, I mean, isn't that where the mafia started? Was in Sicily?
I know. Well, I don't actually know that to be true, but
the apocrypha.
Sure. Then I will accept
story.
that. We learned
you didn't steal olive oil, you'll be fine.
That's
it's just a shirt.
I only stole this pink shirt.
You paid for it. Come on, you didn't steal anything.
But it is really funny to imagine a bunch of angry Sicilians from the department store breaking into David's apartment.
Yeah. And being like, I would like the shirt back. Except they would say it in Italian and I wouldn't know what they meant. Here's the deal. I'm also a little scared because now my YouTube search results have me frantically figuring out how to take this thing off, which I learned you can do with 2 forks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put them in sort of like...
Yeah.
Like
I thought you were going to have to, purchase a device.
No. I bet I could have used magnets, which I have many of, but someone did it with 2 forks and they made it look really easy. That, it turns out, was an act of video editing. No, listen, and who am I? But I would just like to say it's a little more difficult than I thought, but you sort of put them in pincer and then it's like you're putting your car up to replace the tire. This is not the correct motion. I don't know why I can't get the mime work right. It's like a bellows. Like a bellows. That's what it is, Tyler.
Oh, like a bellows. Okay.
Like a bellows. Like a bellows.
Listener, I wish that you could see David and Tyler frantically, motioning different hand things to the webcam. It's very fun.
I'm trying to make it not look like a jack-off motion. That's my main goal, but it's hard. Any hand motion can do that.
Yeah, I think this would be difficult to try and jack someone off.
Oh my God.
With the bellows motion.
Do you know who most certainly used bellows in his lifetime? That's the person we're here to discuss.
Wow. What a beautiful transition. That might have been that might have been the best transition we've ever gone from prepared afraid to prepared or scared to the actual topic of the show.
So just picture in your mind this tweety little twink stoking his fire with some bellows. I don't even know what you use bellows for. I know that they used to put smoke up literal drowning victims' asses. That's where the term "smoke up your ass" comes from, because they thought.
Are you serious?
Kidding me?
Yes, it worked one time.
Fuck?
And so they tried it a bunch of other times. It does not work. Yeah. Now you know. So when you tell someone you're blowing smoke up their ass, you're actually trying to save them from death. So it's really nice to do.
You're saying, we'll try and wake the ghosts in their body up, because that's how we think of science in 1810.
Yeah, they got cocaine. You got to do cocaine about the ghosts in your blood.
And again, I have to remind you that it worked one time. Someone was actually awakened from the sensation of hot air in their rectal cavity.
I wonder why.
They spurted out their water. Anyway, We're not talking about saving people who are drowned, because today's topic is actually someone who died of a much more mysterious case of death. We're talking about American poet, literary critic, and author Edgar Allan Poe. He is known for his work featuring a macabre style and mystery elements, and he is the central figure in the early American field of Gothic fiction and Romanticism in literature. In fact, he was so well known for adding a mystery element to his stories that he's credited with inventing detective fiction as a genre, as well as one of the forefathers of science fiction, and he also helped popularize short stories as a format. Poe was one of the first Americans to be able to make a living solely based on his writing, but he famously struggled with financial troubles all of his life, so good to see that some things never change.
While most famous within his own lifetime as a nonfiction writer and literary critic, Poe's legacy and influence on fiction is hard to fathom. Alfred Hitchcock, Vladimir Nabokov, H.P. Lovecraft, B. Traven, David Morrell, Henry James, Jules Verne, and Arthur Conan Doyle all have specifically called Poe out as an inspiration in their own works. Not too shabby. As also was a minor trend in the time of spiritualism, some would even go farther than that. Most famously, Lizzie Doughton, who claimed that Poe authored new works after his death and used her as a channel to do it. Within the horror genre, his works are specifically known to have themes of premature burial, reanimation, decay, and death, which appear in all of his major works, including the ones we have brought for you today.
His death was just as mysterious and full of tragedy as the ones in his stories, with the actual cause remaining unknown. However, it has been attributed to any number of causes, from things as mundane as substance abuse or cholera to things far stranger, like rabies, or an early ballot stuffing voting scam called cooping. However, the greater mystery began 100 years after his death, when a unknown individual, who's known only as the Poe Toaster, would visit his grave and raise a glass to him, and then leave behind an unfinished bottle of alcohol and 3 roses, while dressed in black, with a long white scarf and a wide brim hat on Poe's birthday. For 75 years.
No,
Oh, God.
I don't like that. This is scary.
Yeah, probably more than one person held this strange tradition, starting from sometime in the 1930s all the way to 2010. In 2016, the Maryland Center for History and Culture selected a new toaster to revive and carry on this tradition. What are your histories with Poe in general, and why did you decide to bring this particular piece to the podcast today?
Yeah, so I finished high school in Maryland, and I think just something that you can do when you have children in your care and you have to give them something to do is put them on a bus and take them to a low-key museum. Like, it doesn't always have to be Shedd's Aquarium. Like, you can do a low-key day. And so we went to the Poe Museum in Baltimore, and when preparing for this, I was like, oh, I should look this up. And there are like a lot of Poe museums in places that are like tangentially connected to him, which I think are kind of weird, but the Baltimore one is the big one. And Baltimore has a lot of connection with Poe. They choose it very intentionally. And so we also read Poe as part of that. I felt like this was a pretty ubiquitous experience, which is one of those things that when you're in high school, you're like, oh, everyone does this. And then you get to college and you're like, hey, how about, that Edgar Allan Poe? And they're like, I've never heard of this person. And so it was kind of a rude awakening when I got to college and like, I was the only person who knew any of these works.
Wow.
Wild.
Well, I think I had the more classic, like high school experience of getting introduced to Poe for the first time. Shout out to Miss Elmire at Bishop Verot High School for getting me into Poe. She has a mural up in her classroom painted by her students depicting famous authors, including Poe. She also dressed as Edgar Allan Poe one Halloween. I love her to pieces.
Wow. Also, props to you for knowing an English teacher's name from high school. I could not do that today.
Well, I was one of those gay students that like is best friends with their English teacher. So, yeah, and I'm Facebook friends with her and everything. One year she had her students make memes for an assignment using like famous poetry or famous poems. And they were terrific. I think the kids are so creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Marilee, what about you?
Mine's a little less traditional, but a little closer to Tyler's experience, because I really have always loved Poe's work. I think the first time I read something of his was when I was in middle school. I was already done with my English assignment, so I was just like looking through the book, and I came across the poem Annabelle Lee. And so I just read it, and I was like, "Oh, this is Bangarang," and so I was a fan of his work from that point forward. We didn't actually read that in class, by the way. So just
probably,
yeah.
I'm so
like, wow,
Marilee, I'm so happy that like we are doing this together, because I was also one of those kids that would read other stories in their big anthology book that were not part of the assignment at all, but were just like, "This sounds interesting. I just want to read this," and I got time. So
Yeah.
I did that with in middle school with The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which I think I mentioned in the Twilight Zone episode,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
That's
I
cool.
feel like that's so,
Yeah,
that's
I
so
also
fun.
read The Lottery that way.
Mm-hmm.
See, dangerous. You all are getting into some dangerous stuff here.
Sorry.
I want to say, vis-a-vis Poe, I was also able to read all three of the things that we're doing today because I have in my digital library the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe illustrated with inline footnotes, which is the name of the book. Possibly I got this for free. Possibly I got this on a Humble Bundle. I'm actually not sure where this came from. This is really, it has strong Babadook energy. I'm not sure where the book came from, but I chose to read it out loud. Feels like I have history telling me not to do that.
Well, listen, any library of any size, be it digital or physical, it just gains a copy of the complete works of Poe after a certain size point. That's just, everybody knows that.
It's Shakespeare and Poe, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's just what every library starts with.
I don't know.
No, again, it's not starts with, it just sort of like grows if you have a number of books and you don't already have one of those.
So if you leave a Babysitter's Club and a World Almanac next to each other, they make a little Edgar Allan Poe book. That's just, they create it.
You have to have a lot more books than just two. It's like somewhere
It's like
between
a
100 and 200 if you don't have a Poe.
No,
it just
really,
happens.
It's sort of a summoning
I'm
ritual.
obsessed with a library that just has one Babysitter's Club and one World Almanac. Those are the two books. It's one of those little lending libraries on like somebody's like sidewalk.
Oh my god.
I love that.
Well, so why did you guys pick the works that you have? Why did you bring these ones?
Yeah, so I brought The Raven for us to talk about. It was the first work of Poe that I encountered because it was featured on the first Treehouse of Horror from The Simpsons. I was pretty aligned with Lisa. I think I've spoken about this before, that I was a big nerd. So The Raven being attributed to her, part of telling the story, probably meant a lot for me. And honestly, even now, the performance by James Earl Jones and Dan Castellaneta is so high quality and such an accessible way of experiencing the story. And it remains an unnerving story that sits with me. I think that it's an incredible work. For forensics, I read this and a monologue from Hamlet when I was a senior in high school for a competition.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you have forensics? Forensics is one of those things that's like, it's like speech club.
I've never heard of it called forensics before. I thought this was like CSI.
No.
Yeah, it'd be cool. That'd be cooler.
I don't know why I would read The Raven for it, but that would be awesome. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, we would like read monologues, and it's like speech club.
You know, I did have a project kind of similar to that my junior year in high school. Shout out to Mistaken for that one. But I remember everyone. Well, those are the only two.
I remember everyone. That's just two.
God, I feel, I know that I'm bad at names. I know that. There were a lot of teachers from my past that really moved me. I can't remember a single
That's
one
the
of
truth.
them, except for, shout out Mr. Anthony, my 6th grade science teacher. You did 2 very important things for my life. You made me realize that I needed glasses because I was sitting too far away from the front, and I couldn't read what he was writing because his handwriting was so small, and everybody else had no problem reading the whiteboard. So that's very influential. And he also we were doing like a science experiment, and he told people, you just pour with confidence and then it won't spill. And he's right. So there you go.
Yeah, that is very true.
That's
awesome.
it. That's the only teacher I could remember when there were so many that really were influential to me.
This is wild. Guys. I've never thought about this before. The only teacher's name I can remember, I just looked up and found her Instagram, and I need to double down on my scared from earlier. Like this person shouldn't exist in my life. It's been so many years, but good for you. Hope you're well and selling things on Etsy. It appears. Anyway, Tyler, what did you bring? What did you bring?
So everyone, I brought The Mask of the Red Death. It is a short story that I remember the least, but it feels very appropriate considering we live in a pandemic world. We might not all be in lockdown, but unfortunately COVID is everywhere. And governments and people in charge don't really seem to care. So on that note, I found the tale of wealthy people isolating themselves, but being incapable of escaping their ultimate fate is very resonant to our time. I think I'll get into it, but I kind of find stuff like this like almost hopeful. I don't know. Yeah. We'll talk.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how this started. I think maybe my older sister had like a project. I have no idea. I just know when I was very, very little, it was a thing in my family where one of us would say, "For the love of God, Montresor," and the other one would say, "Yes, for the love of God," and it was just like a joke that we would do. So it's always been very close to my heart, this particular short story, because for the love of God, Montresor.
I love that, Marilee, and I will yearn to complete your call and return for any future iterations.
Same.
Fantastic. I appreciate you very much, because that's it's one of the things from when you're a weird little kid that you don't do anymore. I don't know why not. I wonder if I said that to my brother when we're done recording, if he would respond. I don't know. Ask me when this episode comes out. I'll tweet it.
Okay. Tweet it out.
Perfect.
Brother success or brother failure is all I hope to see. Well then, let's get into them. I'll start us off by talking about The Raven. The Raven was first attributed to Poe in print in the New York Evening Mirror on January 29th, 1845. Its publication made Poe popular in his lifetime, although it didn't bring him much financial success. Critical opinion is divided as to the poem's literary status, but it nevertheless remains one of the most famous poems ever written. The story of The Raven centers on an unnamed narrator who sits reading by the fire on a dreary December evening, trying to stave off the grief over his lost love, Lenore. When he is just about to drift off, he hears a knocking, thinking at first that it's somebody who has come to visit, and he ignores it. The narrator only wishes to be alone, but the noise persists. He finally goes to answer the door and finds no one there. The narrator discovers the noise instead is coming from the window, and when he goes to investigate, a raven flies into his room. The raven pays no attention to the narrator and perches instead on a bust of Athena named Pallas in the poem. The narrator at first finds this rather funny and asks the bird to tell him its name, which the raven replies, "Nevermore." At first, he's surprised that the bird can speak, and the narrator decides that he must have learned that word from someone who had once kept it as a pet, and believes out loud that the bird will leave him as all his other friends have left him in the past, but the raven replies, "Nevermore." The narrator becomes fixated on the raven and feels the very air about him become heavy, wondering if the bird is a sign from God that he should forget Lenore, but the raven replies, "Nevermore." He asks the raven if he will ever be in heaven with his lost love, and the raven replies, "Nevermore." This infuriates the narrator, causing him to brandish the bird as evil and telling it to leave his home, but the bird does not move. It sits patiently on the bust, staring into the narrator's very soul, and the narrator reveals to us that his soul has been heavy and will remain heavy and is to be lifted nevermore.
It's such a good poem.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful. It's told in this fun, let's see if I can do it from memory, AABA BBCCC, rhythm. I think that was 16. If I missed a couple, sorry about that for people who were counting along. But sort of 16 beats every stanza, and you get the same sort of intonal delivery. It is one of, I think, I mean, I don't love poetry. I don't like seek out to find a lot of poetry. I think poetry is far better delivered live. I think reading poetry is very, very hard. I think that even going back to this, I had to read it out loud to enjoy it, because it just doesn't work to read it like narrative, because it really demands performance to be enjoyed. And I think we're in great luck, because they're like, no matter where you turn, there are a lot of accessible ways to listen to this, including Fergus Ross Ferrier, who recorded and uploaded a version of him speaking it in 2014 to Wikipedia. It's not the version you'll find if you go to the Raven on Wikipedia. You have to do a little bit of digging. We'll do a direct link to it. It's some sort of AI nonsense that is the one linked from the main page on Wikipedia. We don't care for that again. It uses Ferrier's voice, but adds in like a crackling fire, but it's all AI. You can tell too, it's not good. So we'll link the Ferrier version. It's a great reading. Again, you can't go wrong with the Simpsons one, but they had to cut out about half the poem. And because, people who aren't poetry lovers are going to watch it, they add in a 30-second action sequence. If you've seen it, it works pretty well, but it's like Poe didn't add an action sequence of the Raven flying around the room and being chased. It's the sort of thing you need to do when you have a cartoon.
Yeah, that's really fair. I love poetry. There was a period in my life where I was really into poems, and I highly agree that poetry is best when spoken out loud. I think that you will find no contest on that. And for a lifelong Poe fan, I am amazed that I only read this poem when I was in college. Again, for fun. It was not a class. I just read it because I like poetry and I like Poe. And I can see why this launched him into like rock star fame in the literary world. This poem rules. Like, especially when you do have a good version when you are hearing it. It's like a really driving force of a beat internally. It rules. I really like it.
Yeah. I think one of the things I really enjoy about The Raven is the fact that it could be performed in such different ways. The tension in the poem ratchets up over time, which can then be presented and kind of acted out when reciting the poem. I think my first exposure to The Raven, I was maybe like in 7th grade, and we just listened to Christopher Walken recite it, or maybe it was Christopher Lee. It was a Christopher for sure.
Wow, wildly different.
Wildly different, and yet my brain has mixed them up. Either way, I've got to say it's Christopher Walken, but he did a reading of it, and it's so fascinating to hear him do it in his gravelly Christopher Walken voice, and then it like picks up and he becomes more frantic over the course of the recitation. Really great stuff.
Once upon a midnight dream, while I pondered, weak and weary. Walken has such a unique cadence that I just wonder. I'm going to look it up when we're done with this conversation, because I am obsessed with this.
Me too.
One of the things I love about The Raven is that there are moments that it's very dark. It gets incredibly dark when we start talking about the soul and loss and grief and what the Raven represents. But there are moments that are genuinely fun, humorous little stanzas that I remember to this day. When the narrator goes up to get the door, it reads, "Sir, said I, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door that I scarce was sure I heard you." It's comedy to put all that in as like this excuse for why you didn't come and get the door. And it's moments like that are so fun to be part of this before we then get dragged down to the very depths of hell.
But that's what's also so great about horror, is that like great horror, I think, balances out between the humor and the fear, because the humor not only gives us a pause, a moment to kind of breathe amidst all the scares, but it also sets us up for future scares because we're kind of letting our guard down. And I think that, David, what you just described is the perfect example.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
there's a reason why we talked about this in our horror comedy episode. Horror and comedy, it's all timing, and they're two great tastes that taste so good together. And Poe is a master of that timing. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, gave us the Baltimore Ravens.
We're going to talk Ravens. Yeah, hell yeah. This is for folks who aren't aware, this was a fan vote. The city was renaming its team, and the name that won was the Ravens as a nod to Poe and this poem.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to know what the original name for the team was? Is it like horribly racist or
No. I think this was about a team moving. I don't think this was
okay.
I don't think this was renamed because it was a bad name. Sadly, that's not because there weren't bad names in the NFL franchise. I think this was more about a team that moved, but I'm getting my NFL history confused. I just know that based on when it happened, Marilee, I think that we were not, as a society, ready to have a conversation about renaming teams. So my guess was that this was more to do about ownership and changing locations.
Fair enough.
I was also surprised when doing a little bit of research into this because I've accepted the poem, I've loved it, I've read it quite many times. To get into like the other background around ravens, like ravens are everywhere in the field because they're black, so they're scary, spooky ravens. But it's funny that a lot of like the foundational text around ravens, it has them being white at first and then damned to darkness for sins that they commit. Like I am familiar with the parable of Noah and the ark, but I was not familiar that mythology around that was that Noah set a pure white raven out to check the conditions, and the raven like fucked around and didn't come back on time, and so God was like, I strike you down and now you will be dark as the sin that your heart holds. Like, pretty intense.
Good God.
Wow.
Or this white raven being corrupted is from one of the earliest written works by Ovid, of all people. Like, Jesus Christ, this shit's like everywhere.
Huh. Well, all right then.
Yeah, and of course, I think like this poem is what popularized ravens as symbols of fear and death in like the modern conscience.
I don't know. You go by some of that Norse shit, Tyler. Like,
well, okay,
Odin
so
had those two
Odin
motherfucking ravens.
Odin had Hugin and Munin, who were his two ravens that would go out into the world and then report back with the goings on of the world. But that's like, I don't see that as being horrifying. I think that's very wise.
That's fair.
Well, the fact that they're his messengers of death, and you also have the association with the Morrigan, who is also another death goddess, war goddess. So that's, like the association is there. I do love knowing that these mischievous little guys are thought to be full of sin, which that's very fun for me.
It's funny to me because of what we now know about ravens and that they're incredibly smart and they play.
Yeah.
Like
They do hold grudges. I do like that. I hope that that's part of it. I hope that somebody was like, "Hey, this motherfucking bird is like onto me," and is like, "I'm gonna make this a death omen because this motherfucker just like won't leave me alone."
Fantastic.
Like, they'll poop on you. They'll like repeat pooping on you.
Well, don't fuck with ravens. If I ever see a raven, I will simply like do like the white guy sort of like nod of acknowledgement and then keep walking, because I'm not fucking with this raven. I'm letting the raven go about his day, and if he wants to come say hi to me, then that is his or her prerogative. I'm not going to be the one to do it first.
Yeah, go fuck up a robin. Those fuck them up.
Yeah.
Rockin' Robin. All right, that's it. That's all I have for the Raven. What a good time. Please, if you haven't listened to a reading of it, we'll link to one in the show notes, but you could also watch the Simpsons episode. It's Castellaneta in particular does a very good job in the final stanzas of the read.
So I think that brings us to me then, and the Mask of the Red Death. Ooh. So The Mask of the Red Death is a short story that was first published in Graham's Magazine in 1842. Poe was actually the editor for Graham's Magazine and wrote a lot of literary criticism, but left just before this piece was published. It is a Gothic tale set in a Castellet Abbey occupied by the Prince Prospero. Lots of Gothic and Shakespearean references here already with the idea that this is set in a kind of spooky abbey, like castle or abbey during plague times. The prince is Prince Prospero. It automatically has like a sort of prestige to it because we associate the name Prospero with Shakespeare. And this feels old, maybe set in like the European like Renaissance or high medieval era. During a time of a horrific plague that causes pain, dizziness, bleeding from the pores, and death within an hour, Prince Prospero has chosen to fill his castle with nobles and shut out the common folk. His idea would be to shield himself and the others from this Red Death. Poe spends a lot of time talking about the makeup of the castle. The castle is made up of rooms with different colored stained glass windows, laid out east to west to catch the rising and setting of the sun. There is a blue room, purple room, green, orange, white, violet, and then finally a black room. However, this black room, instead of having stained glass to match the color of the room, is made up of a red stained glass window. And so when the sun is setting, it casts a very eerie, ominous sort of vibe to that whole room. And also in this room is a giant clock whose chime renders anyone who hears it still. Is this a representation of death? We'll find out. Prince Prospero throws a masquerade for his revelers, which is debauched and marvelous, only stopping when the clock chimes upon the hour. However, near the end of the masquerade, a new reveler, dressed in a shroud covered with blood, arrives. This reveler travels through the rooms and eventually is stopped by Prospero in the final room. Prospero cries out at this party crasher, and I believe also reaches out and touches him, only to then be struck down by the Red Death. Indeed, all the revelers are stricken with this plague, and everyone dies. Poe ends the story by writing, "And darkness and decay and the Red Death held illimitable dominion over all."
This is wild. I have not read this since COVID. Mm-hmm. I would have read this in high school or college, who knows. But it was wild to read in a post-COVID lockdown world and think about the ways in which there were rich and powerful people who would surround themselves with their bubbles. And the immediate visage that I got was Kate Hudson's character from Glass Onion, who was like, "Oh, it's cool, I'm with my pod," and it was like 700 people, and they were having a party. And that is what the wealthy were able to do when others had a different capacity to be able to be isolated. And so it just read a lot different to me now. I'm sure because I was a communist even when I was younger. I'm sure I was like, yeah, fuck these fucking rich people, die. But today it does read a lot different.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think this to me reminds me a lot of the Decameron by Boccaccio, which is a medieval literature or medieval literary piece, which is very similar to the Canterbury Tales. In fact, Chaucer was inspired by Boccaccio's Decameron when he wrote Canterbury Tales. But essentially, everyone gathers together during the era of the Black Plague in a castle in Italy, and they just spend the time telling each other stories. And so there are many humorous stories in that work, a bit similar to the Canterbury Tales, except I think the Canterbury Tales is what I'm more familiar with, and that has some drama and blah, blah, blah. That's all for another day. But point being, yes, David is absolutely correct when he talks about that this is a thing that noble people or wealthy people have been able to do throughout history to try and isolate themselves and protect themselves and the people who are members of their economic or social class, to try and avoid illness. And yet this story, we see that the illness still finds its way in. Very similar to the Black Plague itself, which was considered like a great equalizer, and is what helped usher in the end of the feudal era, because simply there weren't enough people left to kind of maintain this very concrete social strata, allowing the birth of the middle class and so on. But I'm getting derailed here. We're coming back to this. But that's Tyler's History Corner. Anyway, we do have in this story, we have Prince Prospero. He has, again, we've talked about this, just isolated himself and other nobles in his castle. Very gothic in tone. Because of that, these rooms have gotten a lot of analysis over the years. I'll be honest, to me, the rooms were always a little bit confusing to me. Because I was always just like, okay, do these rooms represent something, or are they just kind of there? Is Poe one of the first people who said the curtains are blue because I wanted them to be blue, kind of deal? I don't think that is true, but I also think that there is no concrete answer that Poe gives us in this story. I think the rooms are colored in these different ways to showcase the rising and setting of the sun. Maybe they're representations of life to death. Maybe they are the 7 deadly sins. These are various analyses and critiques that have been given in the time since the story was originally published, and they will be continued to be argued about until the heat death of the universe. I think.
So what you're saying is we could listen. I am going to go on record saying Prospero, well, he should die because he was rich, but like queer icon because he was obsessed with decorating these rooms. And this is of the 3 stories we have told, the word gay actually appears in this one. It doesn't mean queer, it just means like fun. But I was like, wow, it's like in every other paragraph when we're describing these rooms how gay and fanciful all of this was, and I was just delighted to see it. Just what a treat.
Yeah,
sure.
Listen, this is a queer horror podcast, so let's get gay about it.
Let's get gay.
They're the rainbow colored because it's all gay.
I wanted that merrily because I was like, oh, 7 rooms. I know there are 7 colors to the rainbow, and then this guy's like, one of them's white. I was like, ugh, boring.
I do think
it's purity of the gay heart.
I know. Gay purity.
Yeah, there it is.
I like that.
Or the black room has the red glass window to showcase that there are a
It's because you're gay and you love drama.
Yeah, that. I mean, is the Red Death not like the ultimate gay party crasher, just showing up, making a big scene, leaving everyone fucking #dead, and then making their way out?
Gasping from his death drop, baby.
Slayed, mama. I get someone in the other room saw Prospero fall down and they just went diva down.
Stop. Okay. Yeah. It's all, you know what? It's all on the page. This wasn't even a stretch. This was all right there on the page.
It's text, baby.
It's text. That's all that matters, baby. We got the concrete proof right here, written by Poe himself.
Merrily Merrily's got the concrete proof, so you gotta wait for Merrily's story for the concrete, Tyler.
You're right.
I do think it's funny that these short stories have so much great detail. Both of the ones you're going to talk about have so much great detail about the environments that these characters are in. But in this one, in Mask of the Red Death, it's all colors and fancy words for different colors. And in Merrily, it's like, how many ways can I describe gray? It's just Poe really giving us everything.
That's the Romantics. That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They were just like, we're going to describe the fuck out of this scene. Okay, what about the characters? The what?
Yeah, there's hundred. That's the other thing is we talked about a lot of that. You talked about a lot of this when you did this, but they've been in this abbey, this closed off abbey, for 6 months, and this is like all of his rich friends. These people would have been dead long ago. They can't cook a fish. No. Like, what are you telling me here? This is not working.
Terrible, but yeah. So I want to hear Merrily. What did you think of this story? Because then I'm going to go into why I find this story hopeful.
Okay. I really want that. I want to hear how you think that, because the thing is, I also haven't read this since COVID, and this used to be one of my favorite Poe short stories. I love it. I really I thought the descriptions were fantastic. Poe really does something to me. I love the way that he writes. I love it. It hits exactly the sweet spot for my brain. And this story in particular, I always thought was really interesting, and like the language that's used, like the whole thing, I thought was delicious. And then we had this global pandemic. You might have heard about it. And it's just, it got a little too real for me to see rich people actually literally doing this. So it's kind of a lot harder for me to enjoy it now. So please make it hopeful for me, because this is what I need right now.
My hopefulness.
Wait, can I borrow? Mm-hmm. Can I borrow Marilee's thing before we move on to your hope? Please. Because I, it's the beginning of the story, Marilee, when it's just this brazen like disregard for the people who are outside the abbey that is thrown by Prospero so quick, or actually it's by Poe. It's not even Prospero. Not he doesn't like have a little speech at the beginning being like, I'm better than these poor people who can't afford to be in the abbey. But it is sort of this like shuffling right at the beginning of like, this is killing a bunch of people and it's the worst and most terrible death. And if only they were better, they could have been in this abbey. But then, they get theirs in the end. I was stricken by the very beginning.
Yeah.
I had that same feeling you had, Marilee.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
And like this little throwaway line with like the most horrific detail you've ever heard in your life. But like, that's not important. We've got like this sick party to get to. It's like totally lit. I think that this short story rules. Please make it so I can enjoy it again.
Take us to Hope Town, Tyler. Choo choo.
Choo choo. We're on the Hope Train.
The Hope Train is wreathed in black and full of people seeking vengeance, because that is where I find my hope in this.
Get it.
Is that at the end of the day, vengeance. The fucking wealthy get their asses fucking handed to them, and all are made equal under death. That is what I find hopeful about this story. I didn't say it was a good thing. I didn't say it made me a better person or anything like that. I just said I'm fucking glad these rich people fucking bit it at the very end.
I love the thought, Tyler, that you've given me now is that, man, Edgar Allan Poe would have loved being alive last summer when some folks got in a submarine and decided to take a odyssey down to the bottom of the ocean that imploded. Like, he would have loved that. He would have been so
if we think about it, like, so this was written during a time when America was trying to find its identity. It hasn't even been alive for 100 years yet. It's trying to figure out, who are we as a people? And literature was one of the major ways that people could say, this is what it means to be an American. And Poe was one of those people who was trying to write about, what does it mean to be an American person? And so many of these stories that he writes, these romantic stories, these gothic stories, are set in old Europe during a time where people were decadent and debauched and didn't care for their fellow man. And now here he is in this country where it is held up as a place where anyone can be what they want to be. Ben Franklin wrote in his like letters early on during like the pre-revolution and then post-revolutionary period, with this turn from like, we should leave nature as is to we should take over nature because the indigenous people living in it are not using it for capital, And I think this idea that we can make use of this land and we can build something and we can become great is something that stands in stark contrast to what Poe writes about in his older stories that are about decay and death and corruption, and how these beautiful noble houses of Europe are actually filled with these debauched, evil, nasty people. And so this is a representation of that, because here we have the prince in a country where this man does not have princes that wrote this story. There are no princes here at this time anyway. And he's writing about how he's excluded all others, and he's brought knights and dames to his court. Only the most hale and hearty are allowed entry, and death comes and equalizes them all. And it's a really horrible, horrible death. Blood was its avatar and its seal. The redness and the horror of blood is what Poe says, and describes these horrible, horrible symptoms that kill you in an hour. I think that Poe writing about this and showing it is the end of that old era and the start of something new here in America is what makes it hopeful. And so I do think, David, if Poe had been familiarized very quickly with the idea of the super wealthy, poor submarine safety issues, and the Titanic, he would have been like, fuck yeah, those rich assholes got what they deserved.
I love that if Edgar Allan Poe showed up with a time machine, you'd be like, hey, I have a quick curriculum we've got to get through so that you understand the discourse. Yeah. You're there to explain Twitter to Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, you would explain the Blink-182 song that's a... Yeah.
Wow. Heavy hangs the mantle of those who must describe the internet to time travelers.
I have spent
but I appreciate
way
you doing
more
that.
time than I should thinking about how I would explain to a time traveler from the past our current era. Like, so many times I just want to go back and, like, shake, like, John Adams and be like, let them free the slaves! Get them to free the slaves! Get rid of the Second Amendment thing. You need to change it.
Wow.
It's so bad.
Wow.
You don't even know.
Shaken John Adams.
Yeah.
That's Lin-Manuel Miranda, get on it.
Where's that sequel?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my spiel about the Mask of the Red Death.
I love it.
I loved
Thank you
this.
so much.
I
You're a
loved
delight.
This was
Thank
incredible.
you. You're welcome. I'm tired now.
I was very happy about this.
Marilee,
Oh
bring us home. I hear you have a fine vintage in the next section.
I do. All right. So, oh no, you killed David with that one.
No, don't believe her. Don't believe her, Tyler.
But she said she has a fine vintage. Why would Marilee ever lie to me?
No.
I will descend with you into this story of the Cask of Amontillado, Marilee. Please show me what you have.
Now, are you sure I heard it's not really great for your health. We can go back.
No. I simply must see this. I must hear about it. I must know what you think of the Cask of Amontillado.
Okay. So this story was first published in November 1846 in an issue of Goody's Lady's Book.
I love that.
So that's fun. There's also an apocryphal legend that the inspiration for the story came from something that Poe heard while he was a private station at Fort Independence in 1827 at Castle Island in South Boston. Probably this wasn't true, and there wasn't somebody who was bricked alive into the bottom of this fort. But, you can hear all about it. There's a really great episode of lore on people being bricked into walls. I highly recommend it.
Nice.
So this story starts with a deeply unpleasant man who is only ever identified by his last name, Montresor. Or Montresor, if you are 5-year-old me. I have no idea which is the actual...
Okay, I think it is Montresor.
Okay, thank you. Because
I-
that's how I always
saying it.
pronounced it. But then looking at it, I'm like, is that not supposed to be Montresor? I don't know. Anyway, so he hates this guy named Fortunato, and he decides that he is going to get revenge. But he does not let his hatred show, letting Fortunato believe that they're still friends as he concocts his murder plot. At Carnival, Montresor finds Fortunato drunk and tells him all about this Amontillado, which, by the way, is a type of fancy sherry, and that he just purchased, but he has doubts about its authenticity. He can see Fortunato is busy, so he'll just go talk to this other mutual friend of theirs named Lucchesi. You're so busy, you're engaged, I'll just go talk to this other guy about drinking this really fancy Amontillado. Don't even worry about it. And he cleverly gets Fortunato to convince Montresor, again, I'm gonna do it either way because I simply don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. And I did no research on that, and I simply refuse to
We're just
do
making
so
shit
now.
up, girl.
No.
We're just making shit up.
Yeah. I think you should make a third way of saying it, truly.
Yeah.
Do you want me to? I'll figure it out. Anyway, so he convinces Fortunato, he gets Fortunato to convince Montresor, god damn it, cleverly getting Fortunato to convince Montresor to bring him to his own doom, which I think is super awesome.
Yeah.
Montresor brings Fortunato to his house that he is ensured will be empty by telling all of his servants that he won't be home until tomorrow, and he expects them all to stay in tonight and not go to the giant party raging out in the city outside. So it's completely empty. And then they go underneath that house into the catacombs. Twice he tries to convince Fortunato that they should go back for his own health, you understand. The damp, the nitrate. He's still recovering for his cough. We've got to go. And then he gives Fortunato more alcohol to ensure his compliance as they go deeper and deeper and deeper until at last they reach the very end of the catacombs. Once there, he quickly chains Fortunato to the wall and then reveals the mortar and bricks that he had left hidden there, and he methodically walls Fortunato alive inside. At the very end of his tale, Montresor reveals to the audience that this all happened 50 years ago, and no one had found out yet.
The end is such a banger, Marilee. This is probably the work that we were covering that I was familiar with the least, but it really is this like the last, I guess, page, because it goes at like 100 miles per hour, and then getting this like little like, for the last half century, no one knew, but I did it. Goodbye.
It's so good. That's such a neat twist.
It's so good. It's just so good.
Yeah. I think it's short. It packs a punch. What's not to love? I also think that if you're familiar with the story by reputation and never have actually read it, I implore you to actually read it. It's available for free online. You can find it anywhere. It is so good, and it's so much funnier than you think it should be. Like, I'm just gonna pull up a little bit in the beginning part of it when he's still trying to convince Fortunato to go with him, where he is, it's so funny, it's so quick. It's like, I have my doubts, I replied, and I was silly enough to pay full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You are not to be found, and I was fearful I was going to lose a bargain. Amontillado? I have my doubts. Amontillado! And I must satisfy them. Amontillado! As you were engaged, I am on my way to Lucchesi. If anyone has a critical turn, it's he. He will tell me. Luciaso cannot tell Amontillado from Sherry. Which, again, they're the same fucking thing. I don't get it. Anyway, it's so funny. This little bit, like, specifically where he keeps being like, Amontillado, because he loves this liquor. And Montresor keeps being like, I don't know about this. It's, it's no good. It's funny. It's funny when you read it. I think it's fantastic.
I do love, I think, the amount of camp that is just present right in the text on this, Marilee, as you read. And at the end, when they're just being like, oh, I know that you walled me in here, but we'll just tell everyone it was a joke, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, we'll tell everyone it's a joke. And then like doesn't let him go or anything. It's just it's kind of like, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's kind of giving like narcissistic serial killer like Buffalo Bill. It's like, it's that sort of campy high level villainry at the end that we get from Montresor or whatever. That is, it's so it's delectable. It's just a nice notes on the tongue.
Yeah. For the love of God, Montresor.
Yes, for the love of God, Marilee. I will say that if you are someone who's played Fallout 4, which was set in Boston, there is a Easter egg referencing this in the in-game location for the Fort Independence. There is a cask of this wine located at the end of the level set in Fort Independence as a nod to the apocryphal legend of this being that this is where Poe got the story.
Wow.
I love that.
That's
fantastic.
so cool.
10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just a great tale. And also gay. This was pretty gay.
Yeah.
Two guys going down in a basement to go get some wine. One being super campy. The other one having done... This is the other thing that I think I loved about this story, Marilee, is that there's not like a villain's monologue that's like, I have locked you down here because of this one wrong you have committed. We can sort of get a sense that this guy's an asshole, but there's never like direct motive to walling him in alive.
Yeah.
He does deserve it.
It's for the drama. And like I called him deeply unpleasant at the top because like he talks about in like the very first paragraph, he's like, I've had it with Fortunato. He's just like a million little slights. I'm done. But I very cleverly concealed my hatred, and I never let him show it. Every time, we were together, I would smile and act like everything was all right, but I was actually just thinking about his doom. He's a campy little villain, and I love him.
And come on, all three of us have an arch nemesis in our lives that we would wall in, right?
100%.
I would totally do this to some people.
Listen,
I have probably a couple.
Ted Cruz, I have this really nice vintage if you'll just come with me.
I like that there are so many between the three of us that we'd actually have to rent like a ballroom at a Holiday Inn to fit them all, and we just lock the doors, I guess.
Oh my god.
Wow. See, and this is what I think is fun about Poe, is that there's enough that's just like high camp in the horror world that they're fun to talk about. Even though that like some of his like longer stories are like capital D pressing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
not
Follow
a fun
the House
time.
of
I'm glad
Usher.
we didn't pick any of those. We picked the fun ones. Although somebody gets walled in there too, right? Well,
Yeah,
Usher?
a little bit. So
he just loved burying people alive. He was like obsessed with it, right?
Well,
this is his thing.
It was on the mind of everybody at the time. Like nobody wanted to be buried alive. Like this was the time of safety coffins and all of that junk.
Yeah, putting bells above like the tombstones and stuff.
Yeah, would have helped, but sadly, you didn't get it.
Yeah. So good though. I love Poe.
So
fantastic.
Good. What a little fun trio.
Yeah.
Do we have any other final thoughts for this episode? Anything you wanted to point out, or any other conversations about Poe that we want to have?
So I think I mentioned this, but when I was looking up my own recollection of the Poe Museum, I discovered that there were other museums, and I found a fun connection between this week's topic and next week's topic. And I guess first I wanted to see if either of you could guess what it was.
Is the team the Ravens?
No. But that would be so cool if it was, if the team for, I don't even remember the city in Scream, were the Ravens. No, they're not.
Does it have something to do with Wes Craven?
No. But you're close. What about the writer rather than the director?
Who wrote Scream?
Kevin Williamson.
Yeah, Kevin Williamson, who's fantastic, by the way.
I don't know. I
He also
unfortunately
wrote
don't
The
know.
Facility, which is great.
I unfortunately don't
spoiler
know enough about
alert.
him.
Yeah, spoiler alert for the end of the episode in like 5 minutes, since we're doing Scream next week.
Oh, we're doing Scream next time. Okay, here we go. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Williamson cited his trip to the Richmond, Virginia Museum of Poe as what got him interested in being a writer.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So, Edgar Allan Poe, you've given us so much.
Even Scream. Oh, that's so fun.
That's so cool.
I've been to the one in Richmond. I've been to the Poe Museum in Richmond.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Apparently the Raven is like written on the walls and stuff.
It's cool.
It's because I looked it up and I was like, this is not the museum I went to. And then that sent me down a rabbit hole because they were like, famous people have been inspired by coming to our museum. And it was Kevin Williamson. That was it. So like, calm down. Richmond Museum, but love you.
Well, that's terrific. Love that.
Yeah.
Do either of you have anything else about Poe that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
I would love to revisit him someday to talk about, maybe we could do like a comparison contrast with The Fall of the House of Usher, and then what was it, just called House of Usher or something that was on Netflix?
Oh, it was also The Fall of the House of Usher, which have either of you guys seen it?
I've only watched a couple episodes. I think we got about halfway through.
Katie Seagal looks too scary for me in that.
It's not scary. It's
scary.
a lot. I honestly think you would like it, David.
Okay, well then I'll watch it. I mean, I'll watch it. I would watch it even if it scares me.
Content warning for anyone afraid of monkeys, though.
Oh yeah, no, it's like that movie and Nope that was really like made of chimpanzees and never for me. Thank you.
We already talked about this. The movie told me that it was scary. It said, "Would you like to watch this?" And the movie said, "Nope." It's right there. It's right there.
Someday we'll sit you down and we'll make you watch
do it.
Nope.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
The Westboro High School mascot, by the way,
Thank you.
hold on, sorry, never mind. I googled Westboro High School mascot, and it's apparently there's an actual place in Massachusetts called Westboro. So I'm.
No, I need to know this now, Mary.
Yeah, hold on.
You gotta do it.
Westboro High School, come on.
I have an answer from Reddit.
Oh, please tell me the answer from Reddit, because I'm scrolling through the Scream Wiki page as fast as I can, and it's just talking about the different massacres that happened there.
There is merch that was shown on the television series Scream, which displays their mascot as a panther. But
the TV series is not the movie series. They're different.
Oh my God, that is exactly what, like, that's the... Marilee, did you write this Reddit post? Because that is, like, almost word for word the next sentence on this post.
Oh my God.
No, it's like almost word for word. It was like Marilee was reading from my screen. Wild. Otherwise, and then there is a lengthy discussion of people stopping and looking at the jacket from the first scenes to see if they can determine it. And it appears that there might not be a mascot.
This is so sad. I'm just going to say that they're the Ravens now, and Kevin Williams or the ghost of Wes Craven can tell me personally if I'm wrong. Write us in. Yeah. From the beyond. That is great. Just like that woman who was like, Poe writes through me, buy my book. Yeah. Which, you know what? Good move, lady, whose name I've already forgotten. Yeah, this was like a whole ass thing that people would do in early spiritualism. Like, yeah. Good for you, girl. Especially in a time period when women weren't really allowed to write things creatively themselves. What a way to work a loophole in there. Love it. I love a good grift. Go for it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode and not for grifting people to have your ghost poetry. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you feel like rapping on our chamber door, you can find us at Fear Coded Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Only these and nothing more. No, I didn't like that. This is what I do like. This podcast is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you'd like to listen to more queer media podcasts, you can check out the full roster of shows at glitterjaw.com. Of course, we're having a party where we'll invite them all in to walk through our 7 colored rooms. Oh no, I don't like that either. We won't be doing that. But you can join us next week as we continue our October Spooktacular, where we're celebrating Halloween all month long. Next week, we're back to a full episode with 1996's Scream and our very first special guest, Glitterjaw's own Derek Gale, who you might know from such incredible shows as Gimmicks, Lee Carvalho's Potting Challenge, Walloping Web Snappers, and Screonk. And don't forget, because you only have a little more time, on the 31st, we're giving you a special treat by doing a Q&A episode. If you have any questions you've been dying to ask, please email us at fearcodedpod@gmail.com or DM our podcasts, Twitter or Instagram. Do not send a message by Raven. Submit your questions by October 25th, which is only a few days away if you're listening to this on the day it's been released. We really can't wait to hear from all of you. But for now, we will all vanish in a puff of smoke as we say goodbye. Bye. Bye.